Hi, I hope you're well. If you're in Victoria or Western Australia and a couple of other places, if I'm correct, this is the last week of term. What a great feeling that is. I remember that well. So today I just wanted to do a little bit that's going to give you perhaps something to think about or ponder about over the holidays. I hope you're going to take a rest. That's the most important thing. But, in moments you might think, I like to just ponder. And so today I want to talk about the third part of this series in Who Are You? So we talked about who are you and who are you and who are you. And today I want to go a bit deeper in that last one. Who are you? How do you find out who you are? It's no use trying to be someone else's leader. Someone else is already doing that. You're appointed to that position because you're you. And the people who appointed you thought you were the best person. You were the best person for the job. Now, I want to talk about how you find that you in yourself. And one of the ways of doing that, as you will all have done, is using personality type measures. I've got a colleague who I think he has 6 basic personality types he likes to put people into, and that's useful, and he gets good results from doing that. But I do remember joking with him one day and saying, I think there's 8 billion personality types. In other words, every single person is unique. Now, we can sort of group people a bit into some types, but there's always difference between one person and another. A few years ago, one of my daughters introduced me to a very ancient method of typing people, if you like. It's called the Enneagram. And here it is now. You can have a look at, basically, it's a circle with the number of points around the outside. What I really like when I first heard about the Enneagram is it's like a kaleidoscope. It can accommodate every single one of 8 billion people at a different place in that area enclosed by the circle. There are some commonalities and generalities, but some might be closer to one side or the other side. So right now I want to go through those as a way for you to think about your leadership and what stands out in the way you do things. When I first heard about the Enneagram, I was introduced to this book by Ian Morgan Cron and Suzanne Stabile. It's a beautifully written book, I think by 2 beautiful people, but it describes what we can learn from the Enneagram. And the thing I love about it is the title, The Journey Back to You, a journey of self-discovery. And it's a way of understanding how you respond in various situations and to go deeply into yourself and understand your type. Now, there's a really interesting example in the book about people who object to saying there's only 9 basic types. And Ian talks about going to the local hardware store to buy paint for the bedroom. and found out that there's probably 1,000 different shades of red you could buy. So if there's a type 1 or a type 2, there's thousands and thousands of different type 1s and type 2s, etc. So let's have a look at the Enneagram. We'll look first at type 1. Generally regarded as the perfectionist. And I'm going to go through the 9 different types quite quickly because it's not really an in-depth study of the Enneagram. If you're interested, you can certainly find resources to do that. But if we go through the 9 basic types, you'll be able to see that there are things that make sense to you. You say, yeah, that's how I respond. So let's have a look at them. So, type 1. We call this type the perfectionist. It's an ethical, dedicated and reliable. They are motivated by desire to live the right way and improve the world and avoid fault and blame. Type 2 is the helper. This person is warm, caring and giving. They are motivated by a need to be loved and needed and to avoid acknowledging their own needs. Type 3 is the performer. This person is success-oriented, image-conscious and wired for productivity. They are motivated by a need to be or appear to be successful and to avoid failure. Type 4, the romantic. Creative, sensitive and moody. They are motivated by a need to be understood, experience their oversized feelings and avoid being ordinary. Type 5, the investigator. Analytical, detached and private. They are motivated by a need to gain knowledge, conserve energy and avoid relying on others. Type 6, the loyalist. Committed, practical and witty. They are worst-case scenario thinkers who are motivated by fear and the need for security. Type 7, the enthusiast. Fun, spontaneous and adventurous. They are motivated by a need to be happy, to plan stimulating experiences and to avoid pain. Type 8, the challenger. Commanding, intense and confrontational. They are motivated by a need to be strong and avoid feeling weak or vulnerable. Type 9, the peacemaker. Pleasant, laid back and accommodating. They are motivated by a need to keep the peace, merge with others and avoid conflict. So maybe now you've got an idea of which of the 9 types you belong to, or which one explains your 70-year-old uncle who still dresses up like Yoda and attends, say, Star Wars conventions. But the Enneagram is more important than that. And it's more than a piddling list of clever type names. So that's just the beginning. Now, as I said before, we're not going to go more deeply into that because there are other resources you can get that can take you there. But I want you to think about those 9 types and which one you are. Which one best describes you? The interesting thing, if you listen to those descriptions carefully, you'll notice that each one has a positive side and, say, a less positive side or maybe even a negative side. So the helper, for instance, type 2, wants to help other people, but they put their own needs last. And sometimes this person becomes resentful that they always come last. But that's what they do. So a type in this situation is something like what you fall into when you're not thinking about it. It's your natural way of responding. Now, all of these natural ways of responding developed when we're children. They developed as defences, as a way of responding to the uncertainty of the world. So, for example, I didn't know how to fit in when I was at school, so I decided not to fit in and be different, to be individualistic, to wear brightly coloured clothes, almost hippie-like, but not quite. And that helped me to fit in because, okay, Chris is he's the weird one. And so I could do that and be described that way. And it gave me a place to be. So we all do that. And the thing about them is not that that defines us, but rather that it defines or demonstrates or gives us pointers to how we respond to situations. And in that environment, what we do can be both good, constructive, or bad, or not so good, and more likely to be destructive. Depends how we are. So if we can step out of how we automatically react, it's sort of like when the music starts, that's the dance we do, each one of us. But if we could learn to do a different dance, we could have a greater understanding of ourselves as leaders and a greater understanding of how we could be still being ourselves, but changing our immediate responses so that we know where in ourselves we're operating from. So I hope that gives you something that might be able to ponder. You can go back and look in the this video if you want to, and you can go through the types. I'll post those on my website so you can see them. But I do encourage you to explore your own ways of reacting and to see who you are and what you can best bring from who you are to your role as a leader. Thanks so much for listening. I really appreciate it, and I hope this has been useful to you. Have a good break and relax. Bye.